strange things have happened to us.
What? Oh, God.
Ah.
Okay. My hair. Am I alive? Can people hear me? And I'm hungry.
Don't eat your hand. We're
All right.
ridiculous.
We're here. We made it. Finally.
Hey, Robin, thank you. Oh my gosh.
I am so super pooped. I can't tell you.
Yeah, like you went to Portland and had to swim back home, right? With your little with your little claws and your weird little hand.
Yeah, and I'm also curious why you have your hand up in the Zoom.
I don't know. Oh, I see.
Did you want to ask a question?
Apparently, it took my little claws to be raised hands.
I gotta tell you, I smacked myself pretty good there with my little fake hand. Like, it's part that smarts just a little bit. Well, we're
Yeah,
back.
we were only like 10 minutes late because we were messing around with tiny hands. Not really. Not really. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Foolish me didn't check in on my setup earlier than right before the stream, and I realized that I think plugging into the Holiday Inns in Portland by the Bay, their technology was not. It messed everything up, so.
Man, I hope you didn't get like a hotel virus that creeped in.
Well, I got maybe a hotel virus. I mean, I feel fine, but my voice is like, so, well, good luck hearing me, so.
Convention plague.
Yes. I was like, this better not be a super spreader event, people.
Yeah, the plague is upon us. Well,
yes.
I mean, I'm excited to talk about things that happened. This is not a stream that is going to be super curated. Those will be later.
Yes.
This is going to be a favorite stuff, examples of what's to come, little sneaky peekies. Also, please enjoy my like wonderfully organized quilts behind me because it will never happen again.
Yeah, you had a human having to sleep in that bed, so you had to
you had
an archaeological dig to get the bed uncovered. Yeah. All the quilts.
So next to me is a real bed that did bed things, and I put quilts away and stuff like that. So you'll probably also, I don't know if I showed it yet, but you'll probably also notice that I look like a human again. Had to happen sometime.
I don't. My haircut had to get canceled before, so I looked just like this, which is just like I looked when I left, but it's okay. We had a great time, and your hair does look good. Robin says she's loving the new hair, so
thank you. Yeah. I just washed it.
It washed out all the
blew it dry really quickly.
You washed out all the lobster brine, right?
Yep, and I don't know if I showed these yet on stream too, but I did also get some new glasses.
Your new glasses?
But I don't remember when I did, so I don't know if you guys saw them or not. Stephanie saw them, and guess what? She didn't notice. I should have brought the other ones to show you how dramatically different they are.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. I feel like you wore these, right?
No, I mean the old ones. You haven't seen seen the second pair yet.
Yep.
But I'll show those on our Sunday Stitch and Glitch. Speaking of, let us just do a couple of things. Stephanie, I'm sure you have a link to a book that you probably want to get ready.
Oh, geez.
Uh-oh.
Bear with me a little minute.
Well, you have a second because I'm not starting with that. I'm starting with this.
Move this because there was a whole bunch of links there.
Man. It's like October 21st. All right, just stop it. Stop getting later. Oh my goodness. We're almost done. So yeah, just as a reminder, our next Stitch and Glitch is going to be on Sunday, The 26th at 2 p.m. because there's other stuff going on for us on Saturday. And oh my God, I have to make the November schedule already. Holy moly.
Well, okay, so
And
that.
you might be getting sick of hearing about it, but this is our next book. And I have to tell you, because we have quite a few new subscribers in the last week. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the book that we're going to read, and we decided that we are going to give out the first assignment on November 4th. So we will do our first discussion on November 11th because Stephanie and I are out of town on the 4th. So there'll be a recorded video, probably about seminar, because there's a lot of things to tell you about.
All the things. Many things.
Okay.
So many things.
So let's talk about Stephanie's things first. We decided that we would each pick some favorites, and Stephanie sent some favorites. So let me get over to this. We looking good?
Yeah.
Okay, you looked kind of like,
because I was thinking for a minute, like, oh gosh, now I'm blanking on, like, I've got things I didn't send you a picture of that I'm going to hold up. But yes, we're starting with this.
And this is?
This is the view of, is it Casco Bay? It's terrible. I looked at it every morning and thought how beautiful it was and never actually checked to see if that was the name of it. But I believe I'm correct. Casco Bay, right there, Portland. I had the privilege of booking a hotel room, had to sleep snuggled up to my mother, but I had this view, and this is only one of the pictures. There's another picture. It was just really pretty, and you could see all of these things happening out there in the water, and the sunrise was gorgeous, and then you could see part of the little I don't know, those little streets down there by the water, which I imagine, had I been walking around there, I would have noticed the age of that architecture, but I'm again guessing we're talking about some old New England buildings. Portland being a port town, I'm assuming that it's called Portland because it was some land with a port.
I don't know, but that sounds like a good guess.
Yeah, and it's like they have a very nautical vibe there, but it's also just a really cute, fun. It almost had, like, to me, and I mean, granted, I walked to 2 restaurants. I walked to a Dunkin' Donuts, and, like, that was it.
You walked very hastily to and from a gas station.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. I walked very hastily. Okay, and for those of you that have either lived near or vacationed or stayed near a coastal area like this, and this goes for rivers. This goes for lots of bodies of water. Typically, things are sort of built up from the water. They're not built flush with the water because when the water rises, flooding happens. So we're just up like only like 1 or 2, well, it was a little bit more than 2 blocks, but it was like on a grade like this. So yeah, going down there was fine.
Walking back up was hard.
Walking back up from the Circle K with my, wet gas station sandwich was not cool. I tried to run, but I'm not in the kind of shape to run up a 45-degree angle. So, yeah. Yeah. It ended okay, though. It ended well. I didn't die, so.
Oh, I was going to say, that's what we're calling the ended well, because you were like, you were hurried, you were stressed out, you were like, this sandwich is wet. Like,
I stopped to think, like, am I going to have to throw up this sandwich? No, I'm going to keep going. So, it was all good. It was all good. So, yes, beautiful picture.
Here's another view from your, I'm assuming this is from your floor.
Yeah, so I was on the 11th
just
floor.
From your room?
Yeah, I was on the 11th floor of the Holiday Inn by the Bay. And you were 1 floor below me, but on the other end of the floor, but still had the same view, kind of like just on the kind of farther along. So that first picture was kind of the left, and then this picture is sort of to the right. I was like, I took the 2 pictures.
I was gonna say, like, I didn't take one at night, but I wish I had, because the way they light up this bridge is pretty at night.
Oh, I didn't even.
What's not pretty is what you can't see super well, but right here are a ton of shipping containers. Like right here is all like the shipping port, and that is there's a lot of activity.
We drove we drove through some of that shipping activity.
Yeah, you drove across the bridge right here.
Yeah, I was assuming that I did drive across that bridge. But yeah, so as we're coming in, I was like, oh, that's a lot of shipping containers. And then you go up the hill and it's like, oh, there's the hotel. And it's very pretty.
Well, and then there's that point where it looks like you're going to drive right into the shipping containers and then the road turns.
Yes, exactly. I was like, is Portland like... Is Portland really party? But no, there was other things as you climbed the hill. So, but very cool people. Very cool people. Yes, cool place. Very cool restaurants. Cool restaurants. Okay. You know, when there are seminars, and so this is not my item. This was yours. This was a gift given to you by our dear friend. Mm-hmm. She made it for you. She made one for herself as well. That hers looked different. But this is actually a pattern. I'm pretty sure I have the same pattern. I have made my witch's hat, and it looks very similar. So, but very cute, and it became part of the picture area here where you could have goofy props. And so we had numerous goofy props, and we had witch hats and lobster hats and all kinds of things. So I had taken this picture of the witch hat just because it's so cute. And we have other pictures that involve many lobstery things to show later, and will be on social media. So some of these things they'll never make it here. You just watch them on social media.
Yeah, they're the photo.
Yeah, what do you call area? Yeah, a photo booth, kind of.
Was a last minute addition from myself and our friend Sarah from Caravan Quilts, both on the marketing committee, and I last minute got this big, huge frame, which I got one that can be big enough to hold really big quilts. And she got the backdrop here, and then above it is a sign that says American Quilt Study Group. And aside from thinking of other things we could have done, but they were just too expensive for last minute. So one other note to say about this, the reason why I also did include this is, I mean, you can see these are racy pinup ladies and, you know, that whole concept of slutty Halloween. But I want to make the point that even though this is sort of there's sort of academic serious things happening about quilt study and quilt related study, and we have a lot of fun. And you know, I want to say to people that go to conferences out there, does your conference have a shanty band? Does your conference have sexy witch hats? I bet not, but quilt ladies conferences do, and quilt men, and our two quilt men. Sexy witch hats with lobster claws. We didn't just have that. We had a whole ass lobster.
We did lobster Selena.
I have proof.
Yeah, I did not get pictures of lobster Selena, but she was fantastic. She was wonderful.
So this is one of your videos that actually came out okay.
This is a fun video. It's looking a little glitchy on my end, but hopefully it's recording okay.
It's looking fine on mine.
Yeah, I don't know. These dang videos. So the reason why the reason why I panned over the video is there had been some talk about I would say a good chunk of our members are makers. They are quilters, even though everybody is here to study quilts, but many people also make them. But there's a good number of people that don't have a whole lot of experience with hand quilting. So there was a suggestion that some hand quilting examples and opportunities to practice be set up. So I have another picture. I can't remember if I sent it to you, but you could hand quilt your own little coaster, which was so fun and cute. I have not had a chance to do anything with mine, but I picked up the materials. And then what this is the full-blown frame set up with the quilt on it. And I took the pictures in the video just because, over on my stream, we've been reading Mavis Fitz-Randolph's book, and she had some diagrams and also some pictures, but they were taken in 1953, and they're black and white, and they're kind of terrible. And I think sometimes it's kind of just helpful to sort of look at these mechanisms and what understand what you're looking at. And I mean, you can see how narrow this frame is. And there's like right there at the top, you could kind of see where there's a hotel chair sitting there. So kind of give you, and there's a roll of painter's tape, that kind of low tack painter's tape that they use for making straight lines. Modern conveniences, right? But still, this is the old school way of, rolling up a quilt on a frame and doing hand quilting. And lots of people sat down to check it out and see what it was like. It's pretty neat.
I was not one of those people.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance. I just kind of poured over the quilt. It was
and I gotta say, like, I really like this fabric right here.
Yeah, there was a lot of very cool fabric on it. And this, I don't know if you can zoom in at all, but what I was trying to capture
what am I zooming into?
There's teeny tiny stitches around that crest shape. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can see them, these nice, teeny, tiny, little, even, beautiful stitches. Now, I don't know what they look like on the back side, but they sure look pretty darn good on the front side. So
there's even some in between here.
Yeah. So, and this was, I'm not sure whose quilt it was or whose frame. Obviously, it was somebody local. And this medallion thing that they put in there is obviously from several years ago. I think it was Maine's bicentennial or, yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was, cool to just examine that, from the study perspective. And this was just lovely things scattered about. And one thing that I thought was interesting that I had never seen before are those pieces of green, not the tape that's in the left-hand corner, because that's that low tack tape, but those pieces of green you see, do you know what those were? Did you pick them up?
Are these for help, like pulling your needle through?
They're pieces of rubber balloon, like latex balloon. Now, obviously, if you have a latex allergy, this would not be, this would be a no-go. But it's kind of cool, like, in terms of, like, you think about balloons and, they get popped and leftover scraps of balloon and they just go in the trash. Like, you could reuse it for, like, a little needle puller. And I'd never seen that before, but I think it's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, I have one that, like, I got at a retreat that was like a gift, the little circles.
Yeah, I have one of those
and
too.
I was like, wow, this thing's cool. But I same thing. I was like, wow. Balloon?
Yeah, I mean, you literally can use a little piece of trash and it's useful, right? And then I also just kind of looking at the fact, like, I mean, I do very small hand things. So I have like a little caddy that I keep all my little bits and pieces in so they don't roll under the couch cushions. But I've always loved the fact that, you have your quilt frame set up and you can just kind of spread your stuff out on the quilt. It's not going anywhere. So you always have your thread and your thimble and your little scissors, your snips, your needles, all that stuff. You just kind of set it there on the quilt.
I think one reason why I didn't attempt this at all is I was like, I've never done any hand quilting, so mine is going to be awful. And I don't want someone to have to go through to
pull it out.
Crappy stitches.
Well, same, because I don't quilt on a frame. I mean, I do hand quilt. My hand quilting is rustic. When on the Top Chef and stuff, when they're like, they say, well, I've made this very rustic meal. What that means is their knife skills aren't good. They can't chop like fine and neatly. So they're like, oh, just rustic. It's rustic. My hand quilting is rustic. And I didn't want anybody to pull mine out either.
So if yours is rustic, what's mine gonna be? Like re-chewed food. Like,
I'm not sure what to say because you somehow get 300 stitches to the inch, so I don't even know what to say about your quilting.
But not that's in my piecing. By the way,
I know that.
By the way, I just have to ask permission to show it. But like in a study center I was in, we were looking at hexies, and I found someone, like, there was a photo from an antique hexie quilt in there that had, believe it or not, like double the amount of stitches that I had.
Okay.
Well, and I was like, touche. Oh my God, I'm not alone. And I took a photo. I just have to ask if I can share it.
Actually, I have an antique, antique piece. I should go look at mine and see what, some fragments to see what theirs look like. So this is just the corner of the frame. You can see how, like, I don't know how old this one is. I mean, this is not antique by any means. I would say this is, unless you're going to say I'm wrong, I don't know. But I'm going to say this is probably from, sometime late in the 20th century. you know, like could be 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah. I don't know.
So when you see that, there's like that kind of the roller, and it's kind of whittled down into this like smaller section, like a what is it, a mortise and tenon kind of joint. And then it slides into those side pieces, and then they have like, it's kind of like a clamp, that thumb screw that just sort of holds it together so it doesn't unspin.
Well, we don't need to look at this.
And this piece of trash. So this is my long-awaited, I've talked about it for a long time. This was my study quilt. And it's called In Honor of Florence Pito. It is based on...
Do you want me to show that and we'll come back to this?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah. You want to, like,
I can read it. Yeah.
Your...
I had to edit this twice, so I can read it, but I honestly don't remember what I said. I had to write it a while back, so. So this is In Honor of Florence Pito. You're probably going to have to zoom in a little bit more. That's her quilt. This is her quilt. It's in the Shelburne. Mm-hmm. So I came to know Florence Pito through tangential research. Having read her books and some of her correspondence, I realized what a fascinating character she was. Choosing one of her quilts to study was a no-brainer, as her work is a perfect match for my love of scrappy quilting and applique. Florence had an exacting taste and style, reflected not only in her lectures and curatorial work, but also her creative pursuits. In Calico Garden, I see reflections of her paper crafting hobby, as well as her devotion to gardening and other types of needlecraft, such as floral crewel work. On a technical note, examination of Calico Garden reveals that Florence employed little, if any, piecing. I'm pretty sure it was 0. According to her biography, A Passion for Quilts, The Story of Florence Pito, 1881 to 1970, she used antique 9-patch blocks from a deconstructed quilt. She hand-appliqued the floral blocks, and I strongly believe that she cut the shapes freehand. All pieces were appliqued directly to a backing fabric forming the body of the quilt. As one would expect, the broderie purse embellishments were appliqued, so those are the pieces in the corners. But so was the border of squares set on point, as well as the outer edges of the blocks themselves. A woman after my own heart, I love to applique, but my piecing leaves much to be desired. Now, my 9 patches I did have to piece those. Florence used her collection of 19th century fabric scraps to create her calico flowers. While I'm not willing to cut up my small collection of antique textiles, my ever-expanding stash of vintage fabrics seemed like a perfect solution for my quilt. I specifically focused on ubiquitous 1970s and 1980s calicos, including reproductions by various mills and designers. Hopefully Florence would be proud of my choices. So I did have to write this back in May when I was not done quilting the thing. Mm-hmm. And after I quilted it, I thought, well, I certainly wouldn't change my little narrative piece, because the things that I had further to say about my study of this quilt was that Florence was crazy, and I would never make a quilt like this again. Because, like, again, let me point out the fact. So if you can zoom in just a little bit, like, so people can see. So all that central piece with those 9 patches, every single one of those are appliqued down to a backing fabric. And what I probably should have done was, once it was appliqued down, cut the backing fabric out from behind it. But I did not, because I was not able to look at her quilt in person. Couldn't touch it, couldn't feel it. But, you know, I made an executive choice, and I wish I had done something different, because it was hard to quilt. It was very hard to hand quilt this, and I did hand quilt it. Getting through those 9 patches and around the applique was a little bit of a nightmare. So, but I did it, and the applique pieces I drafted off of that picture that was on my placard. It's a high resolution print that the Shelburne sent me, and I zoomed in and I created those using Adobe Illustrator. After I had done all of that, I found out that there's a quilt company, and I'm drawing a complete blank. It's like, I don't know, Hoop-de-doo or something like that. It has like a funny name. They actually had repatterned the quilt, and I was like, well, But I wouldn't have felt good about taking that shortcut. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I drew these all myself based on her original. Um, but the things that I added on my own that are like my style are the words. There are words and quotes underneath each of the broderie purse in the corners. And I did a scrappy binding. Just about all quilts I do, if the binding shows, it's probably going to be scrappy unless there's a reason why it can't be scrappy or shouldn't be scrappy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my quilt. And it's 42 by 42 inches approximately. It will be traveling. I was very excited. So there are 50 people are accepted into the study, and it goes over 2 years, so it's really easy for people to just have to drop out. And stuff happens, so we ended up, I think, with the 40 quilts by the end of this, and 25 of them, all 40 will be in a book that is published. It's like a print on demand, but it's under the AQSG label, and you can purchase it. But 25 of the quilts will travel, and I will not see this quilt again for like 3 years. So I'm super excited. So thanks, Bob. Thanks, Marianne.
Is that also really weird to know that like you won't see it again for like 3 years?
Yeah, because I've had my pieces in shows, but I've never had anything as part of like a traveling exhibit that would be gone that long. So yeah, although there will be places that will probably get this exhibit that are not too far from me where I could go visit it. But I said goodbye to it. I said, bye, quilt. I'll see you in a few years. Oh, thanks, Jen.
When this makes its way to the New England Quilt Museum, I'll be sure to wipe my nose on it. Be like, oh my God, Stephanie! I can smell her.
Yay.
Did you get a picture of yourself in front of the quilt?
I don't think I did.
I mean, that tracks.
Yeah. You guys, I have to be told to like take pictures. I really am terrible about it sometimes.
And y'all believe me.
She yelled at me.
I told Stephanie to take pictures.
No, take pictures. Take video. Take pictures. So yeah, I did get lots of but that was one thing I did not get a picture of myself. So it's okay. I can Photoshop me in there. All right, enough of me. Let's move on. We've got more pictures.
We do, but like enough of you. So did anyone happen to notice, like, as you're seeing my over here in the corner is a little Duncan Sue hanging on the wall? Just if anyone was wondering. It's a little Duncan Sue. Okay. Then there was this one. I didn't even have time to go look through the exhibits. There will be videos specifically about the quilt exhibits. This is just kind of teaser night.
Yeah. And I will.
But this is cute.
I'll post mine also on social media so that like you can see the quotes and all that stuff. So this one, so this one will not be traveling, even though it is fantastic. The fact that it's not traveling has nothing to do with the how well done it is and how like just wonderful it is. But because of the fact that the skirts on the dresses, there's like a little pleat, and they're not, they're only attached at the top and sides, and then even the little blouses, I think, are not, they're not fully attached. There was a concern that they could be damaged because of the long travel that these have to take. So this one will not be traveling, although I heard a couple people who were like, well, I gotta go meet her because I want to buy it. So yeah, this one. So I mean, as I hope it's not too much of a disappointment to the maker, because this is fantastic. But I did pick this to show because it, if you go to New England Quilt Museum or Virginia Quilt Museum or any of the places that get this, you won't be able to see this one. So I wanted to make sure that we showed this.
So is that, I never, I haven't participated in the quilt study because it's not really my cup of tea, but is that normal? Like for people to just come and offer to buy your quilt?
I mean, sometimes it happens. Sometimes, people say, oh, beautiful. How much do you want for it? And you tell them and they're like, oh, that's nice. Bye.
Are you guys allowed, like, as it travels to quote, like, sell it? Like,
yeah, I mean, I suppose I could, like, but I mean, it just has to be it has to stay in the show. Like,
Right.
You know, it comes to a New England Quilt Museum and somebody there in Massachusetts wants to buy it, like they can't have it until the show's over, right? So, yeah, I mean,
but we get shows sometimes it'll say like, you know, inquire for price.
Yeah, I think this one, you know, this is a group show that, you know, because it's kind of like it's owned and managed by AQSG, so like the sale of the quilts is just kind of not. It's like I don't know how to say it. It's just not a topic of discussion, but, you know, and they're not going to be labeled as such. But, you know, I think that certainly if somebody was really enamored, you know, with a particular quilt, they could contact the coordinators. There is a coordinator who is, you know, or two coordinators actually, who are attached to this project for 3 years or however long that they travel. So I would think that would go through them, and they would, you know, like if somebody wanted to buy my quilt, I would get a call from our colleagues that managed this you know, project.
So obviously this is another reason that you picked
and
this.
So yes, and so the point I wanted to make, and the other reason why I picked this is, you know, mine, I think when you look at Florence Pito's quilt, because I drafted right off of her appliques, and you look at mine, you can immediately see, like, you know, I lifted elements. What I think was really brilliant about this, Margot Mead, and I have to say, I don't know if she was at seminar. I did not meet her. I don't know her, but I thought this was brilliant because you see like this vast jumping off point, but you absolutely see the, you know, the inference to Sunbonnet Sue, but this just very modern, different. I thought it was such a great, like, you know, the picture of the quilt together with the one she made, I thought was really brilliant. So, pardon me in my voice. I can read this one quickly if you want to zoom in. So this is called Sunbonnet Sue by Margot Clement Mead from, is that Renton, Washington? Renton, Washington. And that quilt is very cool looking too. It looks to me like in between the appliqued Sues is a quilted Sue, which I thought was pretty neat. I kind of wanted to like see that one in person too. One question I had that I really was hoping that I could run into her or talk to her is her last name, or her middle name, which I'm assuming might be her maiden name, is Clement. And she's talking about the maker of this original Sue being Elaine Clement. And so I don't know if this is her sister, her mother. I don't know who Elaine is. She didn't say anything about that in her narrative. So I'm curious, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter, but I'm just curious if it was, you know, was it her mother or whatever. So scroll in a little bit more because my old eyes can't see. Okay. When Elaine Clement was 4 years old in about 1950, she found a Sunbonnet Sue quilt at a church bazaar. She picked it up and carried it off under the noses of two ladies arguing about who saw it first. The quilt was very, very well loved for many years. That piece right there, I was like, I love that. Some little girl was like, oh, you both want this? Sorry, it's mine. Do. I just love that. Later in 1974, Elaine took a continuing education quilting class at the local university. Elaine wanted to recreate her now worn-out Sunbonnet Sue. She traced the pattern and made templates of cereal box cardboard, as you did in 1974. She cut multiple pieces of fabric by laying a yardstick over the cloth and drew a cutting line with a pencil or a piece of dressmaker's chalk. Excuse me. Elaine hand-stitched around her applique figures and alternated those blocks with plain blocks quilted with the same motif. She used the traditional color scheme of solids paired with prints. Some of the prints were from Montgomery Ward's, where she worked part-time, and some from previous projects. So, I mean, who doesn't have Montgomery Ward's in their childhood unless you're younger? Did you have Montgomery Ward's growing up? They still had them,
I mean,
right?
I knew of it, but we didn't have one around there.
So it was kind of like Sears, but, you know, different company. I tried to recreate the quilt as it was done before the modern tools of rotary cutters and plastic templates. I did the same thing. All the same materials were readily available at local craft stores: muslin, solid color cotton, batting, needles, and embroidery floss. I did not use a cutting mat or rotary cutter, but I could not do without my blue marking pen. I do understand that. I was interested in where quilt making hibernated before the quilt revival that came with the United States bicentennial. Continuing education or extension classes were personal enrichment classes offered at many colleges and universities, but they were often an afterthought. My local vocational school quit offering them years ago. I would like to see more craft classes taught as a community service and to keep old craft traditions alive. And I also love that she said that, because I 110% agree with her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Marianne, you remember Montgomery boards, but you don't recall fabric. Yeah, I feel like they probably stopped carrying fabric around the same time many of the department stores did. You know, like in my childhood, Montgomery Ward's was a place where you could buy like your tough skin husky Wrangler jeans and a wheelbarrow. Just kind of like Sears, you know, and JCPenney's was where you bought your, you know, you went and bought school clothes. But those places before my time sold fabric and things. So
yeah, there's quite a few Montgomery Ward catalogs that have fabric in them.
Yeah. And I don't remember the whole history of Montgomery Wards, but they're another company that was around for a long time. Yeah. Robin said they had everything. So yeah, like Sears. They were just a different regional, I guess. This one. Okay. So this is by Madge Ziegler, and she's somewhat local to me. She attends one of the study groups that I go to. I'm sure it'll say on her placard. This one, of course, I was immediately drawn to because, for one, I love tulips. You know, I love the Pennsylvania Dutch tulip quilts and stuff. And then, of course, look at the fabric. Zoom in a little.
Yeah, this is Stephanie fabric.
Yeah, these are those 70s and 80s. Well, in this case, these are the 70s prints. And, you know, one of the things is like they're kind of... they're sort of reproduction, but they're not. They're not faithful reproductions in a lot of cases. Sometimes they are. There are some of those like 100-year prints or some pretty faithful reproductions. But these were kind of like, you know, they were like Little House on the Prairie. Like they were not exactly like the real deal. But it was the best you could get in 1970, whatever. So, and I love the parts of this. So zooming in here, she calls it Redemption Tulip. So Madge is from Delaware. That's right. So she's from a little bit north of me. And I apologize. These were all laminated. So there's, you know, glare and stuff. But you can see.
The lighting did give us some trouble.
Yeah. I mean, great for taking pictures of quilts, but hotel lighting is terrible for anything that's reflective. But you can see, you know, I mean, you get the gist of what her quilt looked like. And so she called it Redemption Tulip. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I got to read this. So this is what she says. In 1976, as probably many people have this very same story, I took my first quilt making class at a local fabric store. In 1979, I finished my first bed-size quilt using a pattern from the now defunct Family Circle magazine. My mom got patterns from there too. It was hand appliqued, machine pieced, and hand quilted using both 100% cotton and cotton polyester fabric. I also heard her mention to somebody that it also had like that horrible polyester batting in it. I entered it in a local quilt show and attended the judging. My applique stitches were 1/2 inch apart. So like, that's pretty big. And the quilting stitches were very large. And as you know, we call those toenail catchers sometimes. And I used commercial binding, so she didn't even do her own binding. Despite my poor technique, one judge said, the maker must have loved making this quilt because it is such a happy quilt. Had I not heard that positive comment, I might have quit quilting forever. I had intended to use this quilt for a wedding present until I was told by a group of experienced quilters that it is bad luck to give away your first quilt. I've never heard that, but, you know, the quilt police, they will tell you all kinds of things. So I saved it and used it sparingly. It became a reminder of how far I have come. When the 2025 biennial quilt study was announced, I knew that my tulip quilt was a perfect example of what beginning quilters made in the 70s, using skills I had hopefully improved upon over 50 years of quilt making. I chose to create this Redemption Tulip quilt. Fortunately, I had saved the original pattern, templates made from sandpaper, sample test block, and many of the fabrics. I used 100% cotton fabric and wool batting. I changed the quilted tulip and vine patterns on the border to applique. I reduced the size of the original blocks and drafted my quilt full size on graph paper. The blocks are rectangles, so the sashing and borders were challenging. Have I been redeemed? If you could see the original quilt, I think you might agree that I have. I just love it. Isn't that great? Okay, so Marianne and Robin are both like, well, what are you talking about? I gave away my quilt. You know, what I'm kind of wondering if these experienced quilters said, "Oh no, Madge, that's bad luck to give that away." You know, like, because they're thinking you're going to give these people this as a wedding present, and they're going to go, "What the hell, Madge? Did you hate us or something? Like, why did you give us this janky quilt?"
So you think they were trying to save her?
Yeah, maybe they were trying to save her from embarrassment, and they kind of made that up. I don't know. I mean, that might also be a thing. I don't know, but I was like, you know, bless her back in 76, but absolutely, Madge, if you're watching, you 100% redeemed yourself. Your quilt was fantastic. I just loved it.
I agree. It's very bright and happy.
It is. It was very happy. Okay. So all of the quilts that were in the main quilts exhibit that was local to us, because there was the main quilts exhibits at the museums, but then we had this wonderful exhibit locally there at the hotel, curated by our colleague Sue Rivers, and I think all but one quilt that was on display are from her collection. Okay. She collects some real stunners. I mean, these are beautiful things, ranging all
and big ones.
Yes, that was the other thing I was going to say, gigantic, but ranging all through the 19th century. And these suckers were big. You know, like, I guess they had deep, thick feather beds in Maine. I mean, it's cold. But, I was taken with the fact that, we looked at New York quilts last year. New York is also cold in the winter, but their quilts, and they were not quite this big. And you also see a number of them had the corners cut out like you find in New England quilts. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you see like the top of that quilt is way up. Like I could not have like reached up and like touched the top of the quilt. I would have had to have stood on a chair to reach that. And you can see it's hanging on it's puddling on the bottom on the floor.
That pipe and drape is 9. I think that pipe and drape's like 9.5 feet tall.
Okay. And it's still not tall enough to contain this quilt. And a couple of the quilts are that way. Now, they weren't all this way, but several of them were puddling on the floor like that. And I think all the dimensions are there. But I want to say on this one, it talks about it had like a very deep drop, like, which is the drape over the sides. So, and this is this is what I love so much about it. It was scrappy, but it's this particular fabric. Every time I see examples of this fabric, and I mean, you can also see the fabrics that are in the stars are also just stunning. Every time I see this fabric, I think to myself, it's modern, especially when it's in such good condition like this. And it blows my mind that they had this technology to make these really beautiful, like almost ombre type of printing. And they do not make stuff like this anymore. Mm-hmm. And I just really love this one. So this is the information about it.
106 by 107. Yeah, so 4-piece 8-pointed stars, maker unknown. 1825.
Yeah, this baby's old, and it was in such good condition. I mean, it probably never saw the light of day.
Well, and it also goes to show you that generally speaking, the bigger the quilt, the older it is. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's because
straight line quilting, 9 stitches per inch. Unlike the 8 diamonds in a traditional Lemoyne star, the stars in this quilt are composed of 4 pieces. Although those 4 pieces are often pieced pieces. The quilt has bedpost corners with a 21.5-inch drop. Wow. SH04 is cross-stitched on the back, leaving but a clue as to its maker. There's so much to see in regards to the fabrics, including chintzes, colorful rainbow prints, and some interesting printed plaids. I love plaids.
Yeah, so I guess those really pretty ones that I am very drawn to, I guess those are the rainbow prints, right? Like, it's because it's like strips of color, but they're not like hard lines. They're kind of blend.
Yeah, that's a good one. I can't wait to like look at
Right,
the
Robin?
exhibit.
Plenty of extra cover so your hubby doesn't steal it all, or your wife, as in my case. My mother told me, I said, Rob always says that I'm a cover stealer. And the very first night when we had, we were in a king size bed, so, and it's my mother, so whatever. She's like, oh my God, you are a cover stealer. Knock that off. Bad cake, bad cake.
When someone steals the covers, I just go, I'm like angrily pull them back over. And then you just like quietly like take your foot and just push them off the bed. Okay, so we're going to come back to this video, right? Because this is not playing well on my computer, but Stephanie has it on hers. Okay, we'll come back to that.
So
this
now,
is a cheater print that you got out of somebody's booth.
Yes, this is our friend Julia Kelly-Hodenius, and I
hung this quilt with her stepson.
Oh, did you? So yes, I hung quilts with her stepson last year. he's so nice. This one I was really taken with this, and I think I sent you 2 pictures. It's a strippy quilt, but the strips go like this way horizontally, and so it's just 2 different fabrics, and it's very busy, obviously. But at first I saw it and I was like, oh, it's that, really cool pretend crazy, cheater cloth crazy quilt that I have a piece of it that I purchased from an antique dealer. And then I went, wait a minute, no, that's not the one I have. This is a different one I've never seen before.
The colors are very similar.
Yeah, they are, yes. I want to say it's a little bit more pinky, the one I have. This one has like a lot of red in it. And Julia said, this one's one she hasn't really seen before. And the shells, there's seashells in there, I thought were really cool. And then you've got some birds, and it's actually a very different subject matter than the fabric that I have. So I just.
And you think you have a second one?
Yeah, I have like it just shows more. Yeah, it shows more of and you can see more of the what it alternates with, which is this beautiful floral print, which I also thought was rather unique. I had never seen anything quite like that. So, and it's super busy and like almost makes your eyes bleed a little bit, but
it almost, and it's got like a big stitch quilting on it too.
Yeah, I just thought this
probably to match more of this up here,
Yeah, could be. I just thought it was really fun, and Julia was like, yeah, just what can you say about this thing?
Yeah, it was a really really cool quilt. Sorry, I'm just like taking a note just to make sure that any vendors we mention get into the comments or the description so that people know where to go. I'm pretty sure she did not sell this quilted seminar, so if this is of interest to you, there will be more photos. We'll have a stream about the vendors specifically, but I can put her contact in the description.
And good golly, they all had such wonderful things this year. There's some of their, like, I guess what they call their showstoppers that are very high-end quilts that don't, like, they might have them for a while. You might see them at multiple vending events. So I think there was 1 or 2 that Julia had that I did recognize from last year, but she had some other just fantastic stuff, and all of them, I mean, they just gobsmacked the beautiful things they find. And it's like, then you remember these are for sale. These are not like out of, like behind glass. These are for sale. You can touch them and look at them and buy them.
Well, and that's what I always try to tell people when it's time to volunteer to help the vendors like set up or something. Like if you want to touch and like really examine like really cool old quilts, volunteer to help them set up or take down, and then like you get to touch them.
Yes.
Just saying. Who was this?
This is also in Julia's booth. And you guys, there will be tons of video and pictures. But this one, I learned, this is called a pillar print. So the green.
That's one hell of a pillar print.
Yes. So there's also, there to the right, there's a block that's kind of like white triangles and then like a section in the center. I took a picture of that for a specific reason, and we'll talk about that another time. It's basically a block that's set up for a signature, but it doesn't have the signature yet. And
the paper's right here?
The paper for the signature is there, and I just thought that was really cool. But what I really took this picture for was the pillar print. And I learned about pillar prints probably like early last year. I didn't know it was a thing. But this was like a trend in the 19th century, and you probably know dates better than I do, but I think it's like we're talking early 19th century. When that neoclassical.
I think pillar prints like around like 1820s.
Yeah, it's a time period when neoclassical stuff was like all the rage, and like women's dresses like drastically changed. The empire waists and these kind of long straight column like dresses, and then you have this trend of these, they're just pillars and they could cut them up nicely into like borders, and I mean some of them I've seen where they just hacked them up, but I've also seen them used as like in as a big strip or as a border, so they're really interesting, and this was a nice big long piece of that fabric, and it was just really lovely, and the colors were just really tantalizing.
Mm-hmm.
They're colors that I like.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen one where the pillar's so yellow.
Mm-hmm. Usually
I feel like I see them in like reds.
Yeah,
and
like
browns
reds or dusty pinks. Yes, I've seen some blues, but yeah, browns. I saw a lot of fabric, like, and I think you could see a little piece there of like, actually that might be the same fabric though. There were several fabrics I saw that people had. There was this really beautiful, like almost juicy green like this, but it was glazed chintz. And I was like, you guys know I don't love chintz. It's not my favorite thing, but that chintz, yes, please. It just
whatever. You said recently that you were starting to appreciate chintz.
Yeah, I'm starting to come around. I'm like Dr. Dutton hated crazy quilts. He came around in the end. I guess I will too. Now, this beautiful object belongs to someone in this room, not me. You guys may not recognize it, but you've probably seen it if you follow Jill on Instagram. And do you use it on your Facebook too? Or I can't remember what you said. Or
I use it on my business YouTube account.
Okay. So I know I see it frequently on the Instagram, but she's using it as her business logo, that kind of zoomed in on the center. I had seen images of this quilt, but this weekend was the first time I got to see it in person, and humana. I would marry this quilt if I could. This was the most beautiful thing. All of these, I mean, it's basically like a rainbow. All of the colors are so bright, and it's just in beautiful condition, and it is this complex, perfectly executed star, and then you have the other stars in between. And this is just... Yeah. Right, Marianne? Wow. I mean, that's all I've got to say. I have lots more pictures of it. This one I just kind of took standing in front of it, but I stood up on a chair and took another picture. So yeah, we've got lots of pictures of it. But yeah, I think everybody was like, it's a good one, Jill. This is a good one.
Yeah, and so what we're doing here is on Sundays, there's often still study centers, even though technically seminar ends after lunch on Sunday. There's a lot of people that have already left. People kind of come and go all throughout the week, but like, a lot of people may have left, just after breakfast, something like that. So there have been, study centers after lunch. And sometimes they're not always the best attended because there's not necessarily a ton of people left.
Yeah.
So in talking with the director about how, what else could we offer if there maybe aren't, often there's like 3 study centers, but maybe she's like, if there aren't 3, what else could we do? And I was like, what if we just did like an old-fashioned quilt study where, we just get together in a room and we throw quilts on the table and we talk about them.
Which is what happens at a quilt study.
Yeah. I'm like, it could be low key. Study centers are a little more formal. It could be really social. A lot of everyone's biggest complaints, they're not complaints like you need to change this. They're just complaints of, oh, I wish. So everyone's biggest complaint is always, I wish we had more time to just talk to each other. because you're going, you go to dinner, you go to meals, but then at meals there's lectures happening and
Right.
papers
Yeah.
and talks and things.
Yeah.
So you only have a little bit of time to talk and in between things, and everybody's doing all kinds of things. And so I was like, let's try this. And then for people that are new, it lets them see what quilt study actually is. If they don't, they might not know. And they maybe get to meet some people in a situation that's maybe a little less intimidating than like a ballroom of 200 people.
Hmm.
So we did this, and I went last. We saw some really other interesting things. One of the first time attendees slash fellow recipients, she had a couple of things for us to look at that and get. She got to ask questions, and really knowledgeable people were, giving their 2 cents about this, that, and the other. Like for me, I was asking questions here about like this yellow print that I really haven't come across before. When I bought this quilt, the dealer had given the time period of, around 1840s. And not that I, in my questioning the date, did I think anything, nefarious was going on. It's just that sometimes they're not right.
Hmm.
Sometimes we make
Yep.
mistakes. And so I was like, does everyone agree with that date, which they, did. Some people were noticing some fabrics that were even older than that, which I mean, that's can be pretty common. And mostly I just really wanted to show it off because it hadn't seen the light of day since I bought it. It had been in its acid-free box.
Yep.
And I had never taken it out really to show it off. Um, and people really enjoyed it, and they really enjoyed that event.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was great. And like you said, there were two of the fellows were still there and able to come in and like experience this. I don't think either one of them had experienced a study like this. And we were, several of our colleagues who are appraisers, certified appraisers, including the president of the board, were willing to come in and just sort of be, and this was not any kind of official appraisal, but just to be resources. We also had some people that are not certified appraisers, but know so much about quilts. And, possibly one very, very well-known OG was in there. So, yeah, it was a really fun event. It was really cool. And Jen says it's just amazing. And yes, I totally agree. And, our friend Jen, she attends some of the same study groups I do. And sometimes, you do want to know about your quilt and have that kind of crowdsourcing. And sometimes you just want to like kind of brag on your quilt and just be like, look, you guys, look what I got.
yeah, no, I made it very clear. I brought like this is currently the star of my collection. So I'm sure many of you remember that I had showed you for like my sewing tool collection, the nut that has, all the sewing. That's the star of my sewing tool collection. This is the star of my quilt collection. Back when I had disposable income. Those were the days. Um, where I could just be like, oh my God, that's really what I got like most of my collection is I would just be like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, and that's mine. And that one too. So I don't collect like that anymore. Now I can just be like, oh, I bought it for my business. um, but it was pretty funny. So Steph was in there obviously to be part of the study, but she was quote working it. And she was like, what do you want me to do in here? I'm like, I want you to document, take photos and things like that. So at one point you can see some chairs around there because it's very haphazard. We had to pull in some tables at the last minute because they put in the wrong tables. And it was just, if you want a chair, grab a chair. If not, stand up. It was very low key. And Stephanie's standing on chairs and she's getting into things. And then at one point, we're looking at this quilt, not this one, another one. And I look over and she's just sitting like in the corner of the room, but she looks like she doesn't feel good. And and convention plague is a thing. It really is. So I just walk over and she hadn't been feeling good a couple of days before. So I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you feeling okay? And she's, like she's doing something on her phone and she's like, yeah, I can't look at another quilt. Like, I'm, I'm so quilted out. And I'm not gonna lie, you really do feel that way by the end of seminar because it's a week of just like pow, 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 pow of, quilts and textiles and quilt friends, and that's all you're talking about. It is a lot. By the end, I again got in the car afterwards and didn't have the radio on for like ever because I was just like thinking about all the things.
Yeah.
Now, the ride was not the same as Terrytown where I got 2 hours in and went, how did I get here? Who drove this car? Because I drove home in horrible weather.
Yeah, we had that
It
rain
was
too.
it was pouring rain. It
Yeah.
was super windy. Like I
Yeah.
even considered getting off the highway and taking the back roads home because it was so gross.
Yeah, it was
Luckily, the
pretty
closer I
nuts.
got to Massachusetts, the more it cleared up. But anywho, so yeah, we looked at that. Okay, so that is the end of Stephanie's photos. We'll come back to your video at the end here, but let me
Yeah,
pop up
we can
my.
see that video another time because I have pretty much monopolized this whole thing. So
Well, I mean, we were a little bit late, and I don't have as many photos as you do. So this, um, 3 days before we went to seminar, the director and the operations manager, Carrie and Becky, they came and stayed with me for a few days. It was awful weather. It was raining. But luckily, we had the rain before the seminar and we had the rain after the seminar, and it was gorgeous in between. So I really can't complain. But one of the things we were going to do when they were here is we were going to go poop around Concord, Massachusetts for the day and like go to like the Little Women Museum, and like Concord is just such an idyllic like old town. A large majority of houses in like the downtown area are old and historic. My only qualm is they're close together. Um, but it was pouring rain. At one point it lightened up a little bit, and there was a next to this house right over here is a historic cemetery that they wanted to go walk a little bit, and I stayed down on the sidewalk. But next to this house that's next to it, I was like, wow, this like front is just so idyllic, old New England,
hmm
that I was like, wow, it's just such a pretty photo. So I took that. Enjoy.
I
Um,
have to say, you guys, I mean, I have traveled a tiny bit in New England, and of course, I mean, I've been to New York a bunch of times, but just that drive, it's probably been like over 20, probably 25 years since I've kind of been in Massachusetts, through Massachusetts during this time period. And I guess the one time I've been to Maine before this, it was kind of this time period too, but it is just stunningly beautiful there. When the weather's good and the wind is not ripping the hair off your head, it is just it's just really pretty. It's a very distinct area of our country. Definitely
yeah,
worth a visit.
one of these days we'll get you out here during the fall. One of these days. So this is a peek for people wanting to know things that happen at seminar. I tried to grab a variety of. This is the silent auction slash buy it now room.
And I'm sure
And
Wendy
this is,
loves that you caught her like stapling something or something like
I'm
that.
she doesn't care. She'll be like, oh, cool. Because I can guarantee you no one's paying attention to Wendy in this photo. So this is just two of the long tables. They added more tables back here. There's tables along a whole wall here of quote buy it now stuff. This is all silent auction stuff. Then there's more over the end here. There's more stuff like there had to be at least a good like I don't know 75 quilts there. Another like I don't know 30 tops. Probably a good 300 quilt blocks like individual. All kinds of fabric, ephemera, books galore. I didn't buy any books this year. Did you buy any books?
I did. I bought a handful of books for the Buy It Now, which were like $2 a piece. I think I got like 3 or 4 books. And then it was funny. We had volunteers, and our dear friend that was the volunteer coordinator, holy cow, she is amazing. I didn't know that you could get this many volunteers. It was crazy. Now, the people that came as volunteers were from the local guilds. They are very motivated, very interested. They love to volunteer. So that helped, certainly. But I mean, we had a great batch of volunteers. But volunteers don't always know everything. And one of them did make the mistake of putting this book in the Buy It Now. And not all the books were like cheap $2 books. There were some $50 books. There was this one had $20 on it. And I was like, oh, this is the Elizabeth Wells Robertson American Quilts book. Yes, please. I'll take that for $20. Especially considering I was paying $2 for the other books. Well, I get up there and then I noticed the slip, because what they do is they'll put a slip inside with the price and everything. And I noticed, wait a minute, this slip is the wrong color. This isn't a Buy It Now book. And they were like, oh, sorry, one of the volunteers must have accidentally set it there and it needs to go over into that area you're looking at in this picture. And I was like, ah, crap. And they were like, well, bid on it. And I was like, I can't bid more than $20, right? So I bid $20 and I got it. So, hey. And this is the only thing I got from the silent auction. Because I got outbid on my two other treasures that I really, really wanted.
Oh, I got some stuff, but I think we're gonna have to maybe do the haul maybe on our Sunday video, because I have quite a haul, and actually you got a pretty good size haul too, don't you? You got some stuff.
Yeah, not as much as you have. I saved up a little bit of funds to be able to buy.
Right, but I'm buying for a business mostly. I'm just buying for you. I did get myself like a handful of things.
Yeah. I had a decent. I hit the endowment table a lot.
I didn't hit the endowment table at all.
Yeah, and let's see. I don't even know. Do I have any endowment stuff here at my desk? Yes, I have one thing I brought to show. So this is an example of an endowment table treasure. It's the kind of thing that, it's not quite as desirable, it probably wouldn't do well in the silent auction, but, will somebody pay, $1 to the endowment fund for this? Yes, Cake did. I bought this along with some other things and, like $20 for a bunch of cool stuff.
So this is just a really nice sunrise from my room. And the reason I put this in here was because there was a post that I made in the AQSG members only group that showed the forecast for the whole week in Portland. And I made a post that says something to the effect of like, go home, Portland, you're drunk. Back together here because like we got stuff to do and this is not acceptable. And Mother Nature listened and corrected course. And we ended up with crappy weather on both ends, but the week was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I needed to get proof of that. There was really lots of gorgeous sunrises and sunsets and all that stuff, and it was really
and despite the wind, the temperature was really quite nice. Well,
it's funny, the Sunday morning before it started to rain, you were already gone, I think, and we went out for breakfast. The president had come in. She'd already been out. And our director was like, is it cold? And our president, who lives in California, is like, no, it's just really windy. Like, it's fine. It's warm.
Oh, no. She said it was warm. Now, let's see. Our president is from California and was wearing a parka and a scarf when we first got there. And I was, like, sweating. So that's saying a lot. That is saying a lot.
It was a warm breeze. It was good. It was good. So this is, we went to the Maine Historical Society for one of our field trips behind the scenes. Wow, that is a cool place. I will definitely go back there. We had our turning in their library, which is really, really cool. I'm just going to give you just a teaser.
I didn't get to go, so I have not seen this. So teaser for me too.
Stephanie went to like nothing for field trips, so it's all going to be plans, fun for her too. But it's like in like this is like the newer part of the building. It's of course historic buildings right there, and it's like a state of the art kind of thing, but then it's connected to like a historic house, like a lot of these places are. And we went into like the more state of the art place, and then afterwards we walked through the historic house, which also had a couple of quilts, and this is one of them.
Gorgeous.
It was a really cool quilt.
What is that grayish like color? Is that like a floral sort of thing? What is that?
Yeah.
Sort of
chintz? And it's bluer. It's bluer than it's showing up.
Okay, so is it a chintz or is it just a gold floral?
I don't think it was a chintz. It gives me some paisley vibes.
Oh, okay.
But it's not. It's not, obviously.
Yeah, it's
People
busier than a
really
chintz.
people really liked this quilt. And no, I don't have like notes on it. I could not. I tried to do that one year to take photos and take the notes, but I'm hoping to get notes from a friend of mine that took. I was like, "Hey, you want a tag team? Like I'll take photos if you take notes." So,
That is a great strategy, by the way.
and she always brings a notebook. I
Hmm.
often would just take notes on my phone, but it's really hard to keep up because we only
Yeah.
look at each quilt for maybe 10 minutes. So, depending on how amazing it is and how many things there are to really go into, anyways. But this one was just really stunning. And like the floor we're on, oh my God. Oh, it was so, I can't wait to show you guys. I can't wait to show you. This is from our quilt turning, which was the night of the welcome reception. We have a welcome reception, that's like an hour where it's cocktails and like hors d'oeuvres. Although this year we had a big potato bar, which was
That
pretty cool.
was that was so fun. I love that.
Yep, and it was good.
Hmm.
It was a good big potato bar.
Although they had some
And then
display about Maine potatoes, and I never had a chance to read it, so I still don't quite understand what the Maine potato. Apparently, they grow a lot of potatoes in Maine.
they do. They're like the fourth or fifth producer.
Yeah, who knew?
Um,
You always think of it as Lower Idaho, but apparently Maine they got their potato groove on.
mm-hmm.
So Ivy asked, "Do you know the pattern name of the star in the circle? Did you the previous picture?"
We as a group weren't entirely sure. We were like, how come never people don't bring Brackman's encyclopedia? But you know what, Ivy? I'm gonna make a note here um to look it up and I'll put it in the description because I have her book right in front of me here. I'm just not gonna take up stream time for that. Look up Star Black. But we all were like, huh, would it just be like blah pointed star? Like I'm not used to seeing the star in the circle in the thing, but I'm sure it has a name. And I saw Jennifer was like, you need to make sure you have one more arm to take notes. Like, girlfriend, let me tell you. Half of me is like, why? Obviously with permission, of course. But I'm like, why don't we ever just bring recorders?
Yeah,
Like
and
I highly doubt anyone would let us full on film, but we could
right.
at least have a good tape recorder. The only problem is that these groups, and come for me if you will, I stand by what I say. These groups are not capable, hardly ever, of not all trying to talk at the same time.
Yes.
Or having 52 side conversations while someone is trying to speak, including the presenter. And the concept of whispering, I'm constantly having to be like,
Yeah.
you're not whispering.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you think that you are, but you are not.
Yeah.
And I'm someone that often has to be like, what? Because I think I'm thinking I misheard someone, but I'm like, if I can hear you at full volume, like you're not whispering. So
Yeah,
anyhow,
in people's defense, it is so very easy to be excited and just enthusiastic. I mean, it's not malicious by any means. It's just like, I'm so excited. Look at this quilt. Ah! Look at these
I
things. Look at
mean,
that. Oh, I know about
yes.
this.
I mean, yes. But we are whole grown people
I know.
and we can be respectful of people. But
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that would make a recorder difficult.
But I do know during the quilt study thing that I showed your quilt. I did notice one of the fellows, her quilts, as they were being shown, she did have her phone out, and as the people
Mm-hmm.
close to her were telling her things, she was holding her phone out to catch what they were saying. So,
Mm-hmm.
it is a thing that people use. It just, yeah, you can hear
Yep.
a lot of noise in there if other people are talking.
Yep. So this is the quilt turning where after our welcome reception, we have about I think it was about 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And we're in this big ballroom and there are 4 different tables set up. There are 4 turnings happening at the same time.
It's overwhelming.
And everybody, huh?
It could be a little overwhelming.
Yep. I ended up having to leave just because it was really hot. And once this gets over at 8 p.m., I then have to go like to quote work.
Yeah, with the
So,
vendors. Yeah.
what happens is you spend roughly a half hour at each table. So you see everything if you want to. And the people, this is Kathy Metallica Cray. She's showing off quilts from her collection here. And that person stays at the table, their one table. But
Hmm.
everyone else, including their quilt turners, move with each table and they put on a timer. You have 30 minutes to go through your quilts. It is very fast. You don't have time to really ask a lot of questions or anything like that. Um, and then everybody moves. People love it. I
Hmm.
love it. It's just by the time I'd gotten to that point that day, I was feeling pretty tired. And
Yeah.
after this is done, the vendors open for 2 hours for like their official like kickoff. So it's a long day.
I will go on the record to say Jill worked harder than me at this seminar. I wasn't feeling great some of the time, in my defense, but she did have some more responsibilities this go round because I was not on the seminar committee. I had some very specific responsibilities, but I wasn't like overarching responsibility for big things. So, but yeah, this I know people love this, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing or anything because people do get so excited about this. This is probably one of the things that is my less, and I don't want to say least, but less favorite part of seminar because it is overwhelming to me. Because you do have lots of people crowded around these big tables and lots going on, and it's just a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot of noise in the room.
Yeah.
You have to be able to like hone in.
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see where it's not everyone's cup of tea, but that is one thing too that I really love about seminars. There is something
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yep.
Like for me, my like biggest thing is I want to go on as many tours as I possibly can, where for you, that's not as important to you. So, I'm like cram in the tour, give me the tours. So yeah, Stephanie's like, I need sleep. Bye. And I'm like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like I'm going on a tour. So there is totally something. Oh, sorry, I'm hitting weird buttons. There's totally something for everybody. Here is a shot from the vendors. I don't know which night this was. I'm gonna guess this was opening night. Sorry, I'm just making a note here. This is Jane Lury's booth, and
Mm-hmm.
she's called Labors of Love. And I wanted to get some shots of people in the room. This room had better lighting than last year's room, and it wasn't as hot and sticky.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent a lot of time in the vendors. People ask me like, like if you're in charge of the vendors, like you don't have to be in there while they're open. Like, why are you in there? And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's my responsibility
It's
to be
also
with them.
they also bring enough stuff that it doesn't matter whether you helped them set up. Last year I helped vendors set up and I still wanted to be down there looking at stuff. I mean, they have lots of stuff too, and it's just such beautiful quilts and wonderful things they have. I think Jane's booth was particularly striking to me because you have those two red and tan quilts. They're both Welsh quilts. To me, I was like, oh, I walked right in, and her husband David, I was like, David, those are Welsh quilts, right? And he said, yeah. And I was like, oh, they're so beautiful. And then this one that's over here on the left hand side, I took a lot of detail shots of that quilt. That is a weird quilt and a very interesting quilt. So we're gonna have to look at that another time. But yeah, all the vendors had wonderful things.
Yeah. Oh, and look, there's a cake.
Oh, it's a cake in the wild.
Yeah. It's a cake shopping. And like I said, I think this is opening night.
That was Saturday, right? No, that was Friday.
Saturday, really?
I'm sorry, that was Friday. Because that dress I'm wearing, that was we had done our panel that day.
Oh, then it's Friday. Friday night.
Yeah.
This is Sharon Waddell's booth, which is her booth is called Kay's Attic Finds, and this was her first time vending with her new business. She had gobs and gobs and gobs of fabric pieces and quilt blocks and vintage fabric and antique fabric and more pieces than actual quilts, but like people were rummaging through her stuff.
I got some wonderful little treasures from her. She had, I mean, she kind of had like the wide range of things because she didn't just have, she had quilts, but she had other stuff. She had, lots of blocks, lots of just little fabric, small fabric cuts and things.
I
So
tried a couple of times to like peruse, but it was one
just,
of those things where like I kept getting like overstimulated. So I'd be like, oh, I come back. Oh, I come back. Oh, I come back. And then I was like, can I just come over?
yes.
Like, and like look at your stuff. Like, you don't live that far. Can I just come over? Um, so I have to keep that in mind. Because of course she was like, of course you can. Like, so
Yeah. No,
yeah,
Sharon
I'm
had
gonna have to
some
like
really, really interesting things. And I didn't get a chance to talk to her a whole lot. Just because again, we were like, rushing. And I did help her break down some of her booth, and then I know Sunday helped her do some truck loading. But
mhm.
I think if I heard correctly, and correct me if you know I'm wrong, I think did she recently buy like somebody's collection or a portion of somebody's collection?
She bought from Mary Colville.
Okay, I did know that, but I thought maybe there was also something else more recently that she had
Oh,
bought.
if there
Yeah.
is, I don't
I
know.
could be
I don't know
wrong though.
about
I
it.
could be wrong though because some of the things like were I'm certain were from the Koval's collection. But there were other things where I was kind of like not that the Covels didn't have this wide range of things, but I kind of looked like maybe they weren't the kind of things that the Covels collected. It was, but I don't know. I mean, she just had wonderful
I
stuff.
mean, I can tell you right now, as a dealer, you end up with weird crap.
Oh yeah, but she had some. She one of the things you guys that I'm kicking myself for not asking if I could take a picture of it, but you are probably familiar with the mountain mist batting. And the back in the day, Mountain Mist had a paper wrapper around the batting roll, and then it's in more recently it's in a plastic thing. I think probably back then it may have been in some other kind of wrapper, but basically it's a big, big, big paper wrapper, and you unroll that, and it's on the back of it. It's got a quilt pattern, and people would collect
Mhm.
those. And of course, today they collect them as ephemera, but back then they'd collect
Mhm.
them to make the pattern. And there are many mid-century quilts that came from those patterns. She had one of the original printing plates.
Mhm.
And I was like, because I saw it, and I was like, what is that? And I ran my hand over it, and I was like, it's a printing plate, I think. And I started looking, and I was like, oh my God, this is a Mountain Mist printing plate. And the thing is huge. It's like the size of one of those wrappers and heavy, but so cool. And that seems to be something she probably, that came out of the Koval's collection, maybe. But yeah, that was so amazing. I'd never seen anything like that before. Very cool.
Mhm. It was very cool. And then this, you see me stream about stuff I bought from her. This right here is Karen Redinger.
Yeah.
And we usually see her at the Penn Dry Goods show. I often see her at the Sturbridge show. Um, I brought her in. It was her first time vending for AQSG. She did very well. People were very pleased with her booth. She had lots and lots of
Karen was
sewing
she was a
goodies.
popular new girl.
Hmm. And actually, one of the gals that volunteers at the New England Quilt Museum for Mass Quilts bought this quilt back here.
Oh, okay.
Myself, and another gal from New England Quilt Museum talked her into it.
And then there's right, so the woman that's there all the way on the right hand side, right behind her is another quilt that I think myself and somebody else admired. And then I went around and then saw somebody walking out with it, having purchased it. I was like, well, I'm glad I got to see it before it's going to its new home. Yeah,
Hmm.
she was quite, she always has great stuff. I mean, I knew that I would be making a visit to her booth and definitely some purchases. So.
Yeah, and she had a good time, and our members really enjoyed her booth. So that made me very happy, and she was very pleased, and uh keeps people I keep teasing her that next year's seminar is in Nebraska, and she's like, I'm not going to Nebraska. I'm happy to come back when you're on the East Coast. I'm not going to Nebraska. And I'm like,
And other people kept asking her, "Will you be in Nebraska next year?" She's like, So,
yeah, what this one gal, I don't know her like personally. I don't even know what her name is, but I recognize her because I see her a lot. And she came into Karen's booth a number of times, and but Stephanie and I, we always talk about Karen's bins. She has, see all these bins here. they're all individually wrapped items, and it's that
It's like a
love
little
for
treasure. It's like a
digging.
little treasure hunt.
Yeah, so she'd gone through these bins multiple times. At one point, she was on the phone. Karen has like vintage and antique fabric right here. She was on the phone with her girlfriend, like FaceTiming, buying things for her girlfriend. And it's funny because Karen was teasing me. She's like, "Oh, that's like someone else I know." Because I do that with a couple of my
Yes.
friends. I don't
Yes.
FaceTime with them, but I'll send them pictures of stuff. Then I'll often buy. So she bought one time for a girlfriend. And then she was like, "Well, am I gonna see you next year? Are you gonna have more?" Eh, I thought that was really, I don't even know where that gal was from. Because I would have, I would have piped in and been like, "Well, you can see her at these shows." Like, but what's interesting is we see her at two different shows. Well, at least I do. Um, and and her booth does not look like this. It's like in the pen show, she has some sewing stuff, but she's a lot more textiles in her booth for that show.
Mhm.
And at the Sturbridge show, she has a lot more like haberdashery type things, as well as some sewing things. And I have to say, of the three, this is my favorite booth setup that she's ever had.
Yeah, I think what was also great is because the AQSG vendor area is not jam packed with vendors. It's
Mhm.
a number of vendors who have beautiful jam-packed booths, but so she kind of had the room to spread out. They were much bigger booths
Mhm.
often than you'll see at other places because they're trying to cram so many vendors in one space. And that was kind of nice. This
Mhm.
this was a really nice space, I have to say. There were things
Mhm.
about the hotel I didn't love, but I do have to say like the space that we were in was so convenient, so wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
everything was close together, but they had these nice big rooms and the vendors did have these large spaces. And I really
Yeah,
like that.
these booths are 10 by 20.
Hmm.
And I have mentioned to a handful of people already, if maybe going forward when we're doing site decisions, if we could maybe try to prioritize sites that have like these expo halls, because what you're not seeing, and I'm happy late at some other point to show like my floor plan, because I made the floor plan for this room. This room is housing the vendors, two quilt exhibits, and that silent auction slash buy it now area that you were
Hmm.
looking at earlier. And it was very nice having all that in one room, especially because we opened to the public. Okay. This was also from the Maine Historical Society. I don't know why it ended up in the back, probably because I had labeled something differently. But so I told you that we were in this room and we were in this library looking at quilts. And then afterwards, they took us like to a connecting residence that's a house that they set up like to period. And we went in there because they had some quilts on beds and stuff like that. And they had these signs all through the house that some of them I've got to play with because the room was dark, so the photo came out like crap, but I can make it out to where I can. But anyways, yeah, all of the like "don't touch this" signs were really cheeky like this.
I love
And this
that.
one is, "Trust me, this is a piano," which I don't care about the piano. I took a picture of the sign. "Trust me, no one wants to hear you play chopsticks on this piano. Hands off, buddy."
That is hilarious.
Oh my God, they were
A
so
little bit
funny.
of
I didn't
humor.
notice them at first. Like somebody had to tell me about them. I wasn't paying attention because I figured like, oh, there's that thing. Oh, it says don't touch it. And then someone pointed them out and I'm like, oh my God. And I literally went all the way back through the house to find all of them to take pictures. Another one is like an antique chair and it says something like, everyone who has ever sat in this chair has died. Like make wise decisions or something like
That's
that.
hilarious. Yeah. Jen
It
says,
was
I
so
love these signs. Whoever wrote this is my soulmate. Yes. And the thing is, like, you don't have to be mean. You don't be like, don't touch. You can have a little humor about it. And I think people respect that.
if you make someone laugh, they're 10,000% more likely to listen to you.
Yep.
So,
Totally agree.
yeah, it
Kudos
was,
to
and
the
that's
people.
my last That's my last
So
photo.
this was at the Maine Historical Society, right? That time.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to the people there. I I'm bummed I didn't go on that one, on that field trip.
They were lovely there. Like I really, they were super nice. I will definitely. They had an exhibit on like crime in Maine that we like hung around in while we were waiting for them. It was very cool. So, yeah, it's definitely worth. I will definitely go back there. Stephanie, it was 3 doors down from Empire Chinese.
Oh
Like,
well.
That's how
I
close
guess
it was.
there's the reason I need to get back up there to Maine. So may I just hold something up that I did put in our thumbnail, but I did not send you a picture of.
Oh yeah, I noticed that.
Isn't she pretty?
She's very pretty.
Look at that. So I think this is it's reproduction fabrics, but I think this is a neon print in the center. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a neon print in the center?
Sure.
So one of the cool thing that they did, all of the seminar committees, they're made up of people that are local, and they all do things a little bit differently. And so in New York, they had these lovely, and I think I've showed them on my stream. It was a modern fabric, but Statue of Liberty, New York kind of thing. The guild had made, these mats that went in the center of the table for decoration, in where we had dinner and all of our meals and the lectures and things. And those at the end, you got to take one home with you if you at your table came from the farthest. So whoever came from the farthest away to that seminar got to take the mat in the center. Well, you got one of these if you had this little "You're a Winner" paper clipped to these cute notebooks that we got. And I don't have mine here at my desk, but cute little notebook for taking notes. And so I had this like "You're a Winner" clipped on it, and it's totally random. Yes, Marianne, table toppers, and totally random. And so and it said you have to be you have to be at lunch on Sunday to know what you want and all this. And so I was like, I wonder what it's going to be. And then I remembered, I was like, I bet it's going to be the table toppers. Well, I was a little bit behind. I didn't like hustle and pick a table topper. And I think they had more quilts to give away, these mini quilts to give away, than they had tables. So people snapped up the ones on the tables. They had their little "You're a Winner, baby" sign, and they'd put it on. And so then, at the end, when we were leaving, I was like, and I didn't realize that. And I was like, oh man, I didn't snap one up, I guess. Like, I don't know. Did I lose out on winning? And so the person that had headed this up was a dear friend of ours. And she said, no, we have a few others. We knew that there were more winners than tables. So she's like, come on, I got you. And she says, she's like, if you didn't grab one, you're more lucky because we held back the ones that we loved the most. I didn't put them on the table. And part of it, I guarantee you, is because, not to say people are like messy, but anything you put on a table where food is going to be, there's a chance it's going to get some like cake icing on it. My New York quilt does have some frosting on it, or had some frosting on it. I did sponge it off, but this was stunning. And I guarantee you, the ones that were on the tables for decoration, nobody got one this pretty. So I was like, oh, mine.
The one time being late paid off.
Yes, look at the back of it.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Fabric. Oh my gosh. And they're reproductions, but made by guild members. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what a beautiful thing. I was just so thrilled to get this. And
well, let me show you my one show and tell that I brought up. At the beginning of the stream, you may have seen me snoring, on my new hand. And then like, so this is something that I had bought. It's in the shape of a hand.
it is
bottom.
Actually, I believe, a glove. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's actually a glove, not really a hand, because the counterpart that you also have in your collection is a shoe. So shoe glove.
Okay, so fine. It's a glove. Are you happy now?
But when you want to be funny and creepy, it is a little hand. It's a little hand.
Well, also, I want to tell you that this is called a scissor hand, not a scissor glove. Mm. But with this decorative thing here, yeah, like it's probably like meant to be a glove. But anyway, so it comes off back here, and then in there is where the scissors live. This did not come with any scissors. And then here's what the inside of that looks like. But then when I was doing show and tell with Stephanie, we were talking about
we were just in Jill's room. This was late the other night. We were like, we barely see.
And it was the only time we'd like hung out.
Yes. Yeah, and it was, I mean, it was like 10, 11 o'clock at night. We were like, I just want to see the treasures you bought, and then I'll see you later.
Marianne, it doesn't have fingernails, no. It's just straight fingers. But anyways, then I dropped my claw. Well, anyways, so I'm just like we're playing, and then like I had like it's literally like all the way over here. So like and I had my little claw, and I was like, oh, you know, and Stephanie was laughing her ass off, and it's funny, we hardly saw each other this seminar. I feel like last year we were like, you know, glued at the hip, and then this year like I could go the whole day and not only not see her, probably not even talk to her. Like,
yeah, which is
like,
I go
like
back to the fact that
you friends.
I go back to the fact that you probably worked harder than me. You were off working and I was socializing. Getting whatever this is I have is probably.
Yeah. The other last thing probably to mention here is that Stephanie did a study center by herself about the use of AI. Mm-hmm. And then her and I were together on a panel called Threads of Connection. And it was about engaging with quilt content across digital mediums. And we were with Marianne Fons, who was representing Substack. We were there representing YouTube. And then it was also Emma Parker representing podcast.
She's from the Quilt Alliance. Yeah.
And all the things that could go wrong did. We had a bunch of tech crap happen. Stephanie figured out that the AV guys from the hotel gave us a broken dongle. And luckily my partner...
I'm sorry. I can't. I have to giggle every time somebody says dongle. But yes.
Why is it called that?
I don't know.
Like, you know, they were thinking like, what should we call it? Let's call it dongle. Because like, that sounds like a good name.
Yeah.
They're like, people will say that with a straight face in meetings.
Yes. And if you don't know what a dongle is, you've probably been under a rock, but it is the connector thing that, you know, if you want to connect your computer to, say, a giant projector, you're generally not going to have something that natively fits. So the dongle is the thing that is like the connector. And when I pulled the thing, when your partner saved the day and sort of fixed things, and then I picked that dongle up, I pulled it out of my computer and I picked it up and I shook it, I was like, the wire in there is clearly not fully connected. So 1 minute it would connect and the next minute it wouldn't. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And I was like, how did this, I mean, no offense, guys, but how did this AV team not see that, not figure that out? This was into the second day in that room that everybody had problems.
They came in and played with it. And then I was really mad because I said to the guy, I'm like, we know now that there's a problem. So can you stay nearby? And he was like, oh, yeah, no problem. No, he left. Oh, my partner is in the chat here, 56K Connections, and he said, I just had this explained to me at work. Dongle is slang. The technical term is adapter. Why do we have to slang that word? Like, there are certain words where it's like, you know, the slang makes sense. Why did we have to slang that one?
Yeah, I like adapter is absolutely what it is, because like, yeah, my computer does not have the plug. It doesn't have that plug, so I had to use an adapter. That is what it is. I don't know. Dongle's just a dumb thing. I think I can't even say it without laughing. I'm 12 years old. God. All right. On that note.
All right. On that On that note, oh, you're like, I've got to show just one more thing.
Yes, this was a birthday gift because I didn't get to see Jill on my birthday. We do live a little too far apart. She had been in Nantucket. She got me another quilt animal for my. This is made by like a modern, let's see, Delwood Designs, and they make this from old quilty parts. Possibly, I feel like this was probably a blocks, maybe that was made out of blocks, but. That fabric I love, that reproduction fabric I love from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, so I had texted Stephanie when we were in Nantucket and said, now remember guys, she told me that I was not allowed to buy her any more quilted animals because I'd probably given you at least like 5 or something already.
No. Let's roll this back. You have given me a number. What I actually said was quit showing me quilted animals that I have to buy. Like, that's the problem. I will always accept a gift of an animal.
Well, you said you had no more room for them.
I have run out of room. And actually the shelf that they're on while I was gone fell, and has nothing to do with the quilted animals, but it is, the shelves are overloaded. I need to redo them, so there's going to be more room.
So I text her from Nantucket and I'm like, I got you the bestest gift ever. And when I was like looking at it, I was like, you know what? I don't give a crap that she told me she doesn't have any more room because this is a quilted whale.
Yes. And, I realize it is from Nantucket, but also, they had whalers. They had whaling type stuff in Maine, right? Like, it's all the same coast. It's all the same general area. So not from Maine, but still a whale. I love it. We need to come up with a name for the whale.
Yeah, we do. And actually, speaking of whales, the Maine State Museum, which is another trip that Stephanie did not go on, they had most of it was closed, but as myself and our friend Janet was leaving, the gal, they're doing all kinds of construction, so we had to be escorted in and escorted out because it's a work zone. The gal that was taking us out, she was like, come here, let me show you something. And we peek around this corner and they have a massive whale and calf skeletons hanging. And I think she said they were humpbacks.
Oh, yeah, I have seen a hanging whale skeleton up close. There's the Charleston Museum has one. And their story about the whale is kind of tragic, but it is very cool to like be up close and personal. Like, you can't quite touch it, but it's pretty close, and it is gigantic. You're like, dang, a whale is big. Mm-hmm. So a side note on the dongle, men involved. Yeah, sorry, Sunday, but yes, men come up with these things. And why did they say it's a dongle? I feel like you did not answer that question, 5K Connection. So. We'll have to look this up. Inquiring minds want to know.
56K, not 5K.
5K.